welcome to District 43 Education Series. Today, we will have a live fireside panel discussion. And my name is Lu Zhang, and I am the Program Quality Director with Toastmasters International District 43. Thank you for joining us. It's my pleasure to welcome our Clubhouse Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Jackie Hauser, to introduce today's guest speakers. Jackie.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Lu Zhang, and welcome, welcome, welcome to our corporate fireside chat. This is a talk that we have spoke about earlier this year, making sure that we answer those questions for those of you who are in corporate clubs and you have those burning questions to be answered. I won't belay the time. We will get right to it. Let me introduce our panelists and our moderator for today. Dr. Elizabeth Carter is the Director of Finance for Highmark Health in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a Blue Cross Blue Shield healthcare provider company. She's a performance improvement leader, speaker, trainer, and a 4-time best-selling author. Elizabeth joined Toastmasters in 2011 in Wilmington, Delaware. She has held every officer role except treasurer. She's held district leadership roles from area director to District 18 Director. She has achieved her DTM twice, completed the Dynamic Leadership Path, and is working on the Leadership Development Path. Even though she moved from Delaware, DTM Carter has continued her commitment to Toastmasters, serving in leadership capacities in her club and her district. Dr. Elizabeth Carter, our moderator for today. Our panelists for today, we have Denise Carter, no stranger to us, past district director of District 43. She's been a member of Toastmasters since April of 2012. She earned her first DTM in 2016, and she has held several leadership roles within Toastmasters, and she's an active member of 4 clubs. Denise has worked for Walmart since December 2010. Her current role with Walmart is with anti-corruption compliance. Prior to Walmart, she worked for Tyson Foods, and she also spent 7 years in the U.S. Navy, something new I learned about her today. While in the Navy, she earned her Bachelor of Science degree, and after she got out of the Navy, she received her MBA. Denise has 2 kids who keep her active in different sports. One is a sophomore in college, and Emily is a junior in high school. Welcome, Denise Carpenter. Our next panelist is DTM Willie Johnson. Willie is no stranger to us, although we know that he is out of the country a lot. Rarely is he in the country, so thank you for being here with us, Toastmaster Johnson, today. Panelist Willie Johnson was a Toastmaster with the Fortune 500 company for more than 20 years. During that time, he was a sponsor and a mentor to 2 corporate clubs. Both clubs are still active today. Of note, Toastmaster Johnson is the professional member of the National Speakers Association, the Black Speakers Network, a DTM, and was the 2010 District 43 Governor. Welcome, distinguished Toastmaster Willie Johnson. And last but certainly not least to our panel today is Toastmaster Jessica Flinn, who coins herself as a baby Toastmaster because she joined Toastmasters last year. She is currently the Area Seat 4 Director and is a charter member of Buckman Toasters. She is currently serving as the president of Buckman Toasters, and she served as their charter club VPE. And she also acted as the registration chair for District 43 Spring Conference this past April. Please welcome Toastmaster Jessica Flinn. With no further ado, I will turn the virtual lectern over to Dr. Carter for her to moderate this wonderful panel. Over to you, Dr. Carter.
Thank you so much, Jackie, for the warm introduction. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon on a Sunday. I won't ask how many of you are football fans and are multitasking, one monitor looking at us, the other monitor looking at the television, but I hope that you will pay enough attention that you'll gain some value from being with us this afternoon. I tell you, I joined Toastmasters 10 years ago, and every year I continue to learn something new and meet wonderful new people. I was unfortunately not able to attend the convention. None of us were this year in person, but I hope you attended virtually as there were a lot of great educational sessions. One that I was part of was a panel about how Toastmasters can advance your career. And I then went on later on the week to host a Q&A session where there were tons of questions about how to leverage what we do here professionally and a lot about clubs and engagement and how to really ensure that our corporate environment leverages these great tools and opportunities that we have here at Toastmasters. And I'm excited that this is a continuation. Of course, every single tip, tool, or resource that we have at Toastmasters may not always work for every single club. That's why I'm excited today. We have three of your leaders, three trailblazers, trendsetters who want to share what they're doing in their clubs. And hopefully, you'll take away a few things that you can try with your clubs. As we continue in this work from home environment, depending on what you do and where you are, you may be venturing back into the office soon. So hybrid may be what we're looking at in the future. But always, we thank you all for your attention. And again, we will have Q&A as you hear our discussion. If anything comes up, please put it in the chat and we will handle Q&A toward the end of our session. Again, welcome and thank you all for joining us. We are going to start, and this is a fireside chat, so I threw up my little Zoom background here with my fake fireplace just to make it feel warm and cozy, because that's really what it is. We're relaxed, we're sharing information, and again, I thank my three wonderful district leaders here to provide us with some great insight and perspective as to what they do in their clubs. So I'll first go around with our first question will be, how was your corporate club formed? And I'm going to start first with Denise Carpenter. Denise, welcome.
So I have to admit, I was not at Walmart when the club was formed. I started a year later. However, ironically, the person who I took their position at Walmart is the one that started the club. And I just kind of took it over from there, part of my job description, apparently. This club was my main club, which is Walmart's Save Money, Toast Better, was started in 2009. We have 5 clubs in the Bentonville area and then 5 other clubs that I know of around the world. There may be some more out there. And I'm not going to talk about all of them one by one because that would take us the whole hour, but I will sprinkle in information about all the different clubs at Walmart. I'm a member of 3 of them currently.
Thank you so much. Jessica, how was your club formed?
Our club started with, my club is the corporate club at Buckman International, and we just passed our 1-year anniversary. So we were founded last August, was our charter date. And our club started as actually the brainchild of one of our C-suite officers, our chief digital officer, who had seen the value of the program in other organizations and really wanted Buckman to start a chapter here in Memphis. So he actually was the one who kind of catalyzed the whole forming of our chapter.
Thank you. Mr. Willie Johnson.
Thank you. Great question. The corporate club in JB Hunt was started because I had already figured out that I would be leaving the corporate world. And one of the things that I wanted to do is leave a legacy. So what legacy was I going to leave? And that legacy was to make sure that I started a Toastmasters club, because prior to that, it was always no, 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 when someone brought up the idea of starting a corporate club. And since I was part of the training and development crew, I was able to pull that off. And that was in 2012, 2013 timeframe.
Great. Thank you so much. And just to add a little commentary from the club that my company has, Highmark Health, they actually sit underneath the umbrella of our employee resource groups. And the reason how that came to be is that as they wanted to provide development for the leaders of those individual resource groups, they felt that Toastmasters would be an area for them to hone in on their communication and leadership skills. So that was how one of our clubs was born. So thank you all so much for talking about the various ways that our corporations instill Toastmasters in our organizations. The second question is, for each of you, what has been the biggest struggle and how did you overcome it? We will start with Jessica. So besides starting a club in the pandemic, what other struggles did you have?
So probably if I had to pick one out, the biggest struggle we have had, we adapted quite well to starting in the pandemic because we had spent the better part of the last year doing a lot of virtual meetings because we are a global organization. So adapting during the pandemic was pretty straightforward. Our biggest struggle, and I think a lot of corporate clubs will face this, is people having the time to fully commit to the journey that is Toastmasters. A lot of the time we would have our members in, but we would have members who couldn't come to every meeting, would have to take steps back. So really our biggest struggle was the time commitment to really understanding that this is a self-developing club. This is all about your personal development. So finding those people who want to take the time and see the benefit and can fit that into their schedule was probably one of our biggest struggles. One of the ways we're addressing that is we have a pretty open, hey, if you've got a big project going right now, it's taking a lot of your time, and you need to step back for a few months, we have the openness to do that. We would much rather you step back for a couple months and then come back when your project is over. But yeah, I would say that's probably one of our biggest struggles is keeping our membership engaged consistently.
Thanks, Jessica. Willie.
Thank you. Another great question. One of the biggest struggles that I faced, and I am sure that they are continuing to face that, is making sure that we have the right champion on board. Because the Toastmasters program is really not part of the HR side of the house. And so eventually we had to get to the right side of the house in the corporate environment, and that was sales. Because when you're in sales, you have to do a lot of speaking. So that was the biggest challenge that we had, was just finding out who that person was. And we were able to get not only one, but we were able to get 4 vice presidents on board that was on the sales side of the house. And that 5th person, which was really instrumental, was the chief operating officer, who is still there today. So it comes down to that. And just like Jessica said, it's all about the time, because sometimes they're off in sales doing this or doing that, and they do not have the time, or they say they do not have the time to attend a meeting. So when I think about, the challenges, I believe exactly what Jessica was saying, and I would add, you got to make sure you get the right champions on board.
Thank you, Willie. Denise.
I agree with both things that Willie and Jessica had said about challenges with getting buy-in and meetings. Meetings always take priority, our work meetings. One of the things that we've done is we have introduced more accountability to our programs, where we have everyone on a 3-week rotation of giving speeches. And we also make sure every member has a meeting role that week. Because it's very easy to make up an excuse why you can't give a speech this week. Or if I don't have a role, no one will miss me. Why do I need to go this week? So we make sure everybody has a role. We also use breakout rooms for some of our club meetings if we have more than 3 speakers. We've had up to 9 speakers in 1 week because we use breakout rooms, and we encourage other people to come and help with evaluations and things like that. Accountability, I think, is key when we're talking about corporate clubs, especially because they have so much going on during the day that it's so easy to get sidetracked. Another thing that we did was with 2 of our clubs, we changed the club name to something that rolls off the tongue a little bit better when you're talking about it and when you're trying to promote it. 2 of our clubs are called Empowering Walmart Leaders and Investing in Walmart Leaders. And just ever since we changed the name, we have gotten a lot more people asking about those 2 clubs. So something that's easy to just say quickly without stumbling over it. Some of our previous names we kind of stumbled over and it made it hard to sell. And those are some things that I would encourage you to think about when it comes to your name. The other thing is making sure that your members know that this is personal and professional development. And that way they are more engaged in it.
Thank you. Lots of great ideas. I love the name because when we think about headlines, headlines are everything. If someone said inspiring speakers, I'm like, hey, I want to go to that meeting. A lot of times we get stuck on it has to be the name of the company. In the name, it doesn't. It's sponsored by the corporation, but if the name is engaging and people want to be involved, that's awesome. Thank you so much for that great suggestion. And thank you all for your responses on that one. Now, I know all of you are part of corporate clubs, but also we don't want to dismiss community clubs because they are also very important and there are similarities and differences between a community and a corporate club. I'd love for each one of you to share based on your experiences, whether you've been involved in both types or not. How have you seen some of those differences? And I'll start with you now, Willie.
Thank you. Another great question. I don't know why you started with me. When you don't start with me, I get to piggyback off of Denise and Jessica, but I guess I have to go it on for myself to get started with this particular question. And yes, I have been involved with both community clubs and corporate clubs. The biggest thing, the biggest things that I see different in a community club versus a corporate club is a corporate club have to follow the rules of the organization. So when it comes to marketing, getting people, talking to people, putting things on the board, whether that's electronically or in person, they still have to follow the corporate guidelines. As other than that, I think corporate clubs, just like any other club, need to have a treasurer so that they can have club dues, because all companies differ as to what they're going to pay for. And I talk about JB Hunt Club, but JB Hunt will absolutely not pay for certain things. So it becomes important for the corporate club just as well as it is for the community club to have some type of club dues so that they will be able to buy some of the little things that they come up with. For example, every club meeting at JB Hunt, they buy pizza over the lunch. Somebody has to pay for that pizza. Now you have to ask yourself, how many times is the corporate finance officer going to spring for that pizza? So therefore, they also have a treasurer and a club due.
Thank you so much, Mr. Willie. Denise.
To piggyback off of what Willie was saying, I think there's a couple differences between community and corporate clubs. One is communication, how you communicate with your members. I feel like it's a lot easier in a corporate club than it is in a community club, because we've got those open channels that we can use all day long, and we're used to doing email. So I think communication is a lot easier, and file sharing and things like that. The other thing is how payments are made, as Willie was talking about. At Walmart, we have a Walmart payment incentive. If you have completed a level during the last 6-month period, then Walmart will pay your dues going forward. You have to earn it before they will pay for it. Now, some managers will pay for it up front, but others won't. And so we have you earn it, and then our corporate sponsor will pay for your dues as we do that. Another thing I think is the mentoring piece. When you talk about mentoring, mentoring is always a buzzword, right? That belongs everywhere we are. But in our corporate environment, one-on-ones is the thing that we do. So instead of calling them mentoring, we've started calling them one-on-ones with each other, because it seems to have a little more traction than a mentoring. It feels like there's a lot more work behind it when it's mentoring. When it's just a one-on-one, It's just a conversation that you can help people move forward with. So those are a few things that I find different between corporate and community clubs.
Thanks for that, Denise. Appreciate that. Jessica.
I'm going to piggyback off of the excellent answers from our other two panelists in that I agree that lines of communication in a corporate club are usually very straightforward. So for example, we are a Teams organization. Almost everything runs off of Microsoft Teams. So we have a constant Teams page for updates, chats for updates. We are always in communication with each other, even when we're not in meetings, which is very helpful to putting together productive meetings and having that good engagement. In our case, our dues are actually paid up front. We have a sponsor who actually does pay our club dues up front. So one of the pieces that we kind of worked through in our first 6 months was that there were a lot of people who signed up thinking, oh, this is going to be just like any other training. I can come, I can listen, and then I can go away. Not realizing that Toastmasters doesn't work that way. Toastmasters is about your development, putting yourself out there and growing personally and professionally. So we had a bunch of Toastmasters, I'm going to say a bunch, but we had a good group of our charter class who slowly dropped off because they were thinking this was going to be like another online training webinar, and it wasn't. So really, to me, one of the challenges in that corporate space is when your dues are paid by your company, how do you get that right level of engagement to where they are still furthering their development? And so far, it's worked rather effectively once we kind of trimmed the numbers and then started growing them back out from the people who stayed.
Great. Thank you so much, Jessica. You know, for me, and again, I've been in community clubs all the time and been involved in corporate between being in leadership and helping sponsor several of them. The main thing, as you all mentioned, was the accountability. And regardless of what type of club you are in, you are accountable to your own development. And whether or not the company pays you up front or reimburses you or you're paying out of your pocket, you have to want it and be motivated by yourself in order to really gain traction. The other thing I always notice were people who may be dual members, so they're in both. They like the corporate club for that corporate networking, can work on topics that are more corporate oriented. But then join the community club where they can be a bit more free in what they're just talking about in their speeches and get to meet people more in the community or in the neighborhood. So I think regardless of what type of club you're in, you gain great information, knowledge, networking, and I always tell people it's the best $45 for 6 months that you will ever spend. You can buy coffee, you can buy clothes, shoes, whatever, and it's gone and depreciates. This is the only thing that appreciates in value with your money as long as you keep spending and engaging. So thank you all so much for those answers. All right, the next question. This is the reason why everyone's here. We all want to understand membership. We know that the last year and a half, it'll be 2 years by the time we blink, that we have been struggling. And it's not just not just corporate, it's community clubs too. We're all suffering in trying to regain our members. We've lost so many. Some are waiting to come back. Some are working from home and can't come back. Varying degrees of situations that we have lost members. This is a two-part question for all of you. One, how do you maintain the members in your club? And second, how are you recruiting members right now? And we will start back with you, Denise.
Okay. These are very good questions and very challenging questions to answer. I think it depends on the time of the year that you ask the question. One of the things that we have started doing at Walmart is we have a Facebook for the workplace called Workplace. We post on there. We have several things that we talk about in our workplace. We also go on road shows. It's kind of like having an open house, except we go to them. We set up little meetings, 30-minute meetings with different leaders in the organization, and we talk about what Toastmasters can offer their associates. And we've got a succinct demo that we give them, and we tell them exactly what they're going to get and how much it's going to be. And we've simplified it. It's $120 a year. We don't get into the whole $45 every 6 months. We just simplify it so that it's easier for them to comprehend. That's one thing that we've done. I mentioned earlier the accountability program that we've started. So during the pandemic, we had 2 clubs that I was going to close because we were just having trouble year over year with those 2 clubs. Since then, we've gotten both of those clubs up to over 20 members doing the accountability program. And to retain members, one of the things that we're starting to do is we're making sure that we have celebrations. Recognition is always really important, but it's so easy to forget about and to let it get sidetracked, or it gets watered down because we do celebrations every week. So what we're going to start doing is every 6 months, the first week of September and the first week of March, right before dues are due or right during the period, we're going to have celebrations. That way, those people who are on the fence about, oh, I don't know if I'm going to stay. Well, now we just celebrated them. So now they really want to stay and they want to see themselves go through the program. And also competition, when you have people going through the program together, like we are with our accountable programs, they don't want to get left behind. So they're going to continue. And we never say that once you finish level 1, it's, there's 5 levels to a path, and then there's another level. So you've got to make sure that you don't talk about the end line being level 1 or even a path. You got to talk about it as a continuation to their program.
Thanks, Denise. I love that. Love that. Jessica.
Well spoken. I agree with everything that Toastmaster Denise Carpenter just said. I'm going to piggyback off of it and take it to the next level, which is everything to me, at least in terms of maintaining our membership, comes back to the member first. Every member has their own motivation for why they're wanting to grow. For example, in our club, we have people who are introverted and they're wanting to work on their public speaking skills. We have members who English is a second language, so they're trying to improve their English. And then we have members who are looking to hone their leadership skills and their ability to give healthy conflict feedback and constructive feedback in a way that's not negative. So really understanding what your members are looking to get out of the program, to me, is key to keeping those members engaged. One thing I've noticed recently is there is an ongoing leadership training in our organization right now where they've pulled some people into that training. I looked around that room, 90% of that room were members of our Toastmasters Club. 90% of them. And that speaks to what is keeping those members engaged and what they are trying to learn from that experience. As far as recruiting goes, we have really focused in on a couple of key areas. Our club started as kind of a combination of 2 specific departments in Buckman. So our recruitment goals have been to grow out, expand to the other areas of Buckman who are in those same geographical zones but haven't been pulled into the program yet, and a focus on our interns as well, because we have interns coming into various departments. So we're trying to pull them into the program early so we can help develop them, because that's our future employment pool. So those are kind of the ways we've been recruiting so far, and they've probably been the most effective for us. But ultimately, I think really understanding the goals of the person you're trying to bring in is what's going to keep them there once they get in. Thank you.
Thanks, Jessica. Willie, how are you maintaining and recruiting? I know you're not there anymore, but how is JB Hunt maintaining the legacy that you've started?
I was hoping that you just bypassed me and accepted the responses from the 2 panelists, but I'll give it a shot. Another great question. When it comes to maintaining and recruitment within the corporate environment there, it's all about awards, and the celebration of those awards. Now, it doesn't have to be many awards. However, when someone reaches a certain level, because see, the club is basically right now, the majority of people in the club has to do with sales, not HR, not operations. It's the sales side of the business. So when they have those various awards because they've reached a certain level, what they tend to do is invite a vice president of one of the sales units to that meeting. And especially if that sales vice president has 2 or 3 people in that club, then of course he's going to tell the other vice president, and it goes just like that. And then sometimes when they have something special, They have the latitude of inviting the chief operating officer down. And when the chief operating officer comes down, chances are the vice presidents under sales is going to come down and see what they're doing within that, see what type of awards are being presented at that particular level. And so when I think, I don't really separate in that particular club maintaining and recruiting, because it goes hand in hand. They're maintaining their members to a certain extent, and the recruitment is because when those vice presidents go back, they're going to tell a couple of their people, I need you to go join Toastmasters so that you can improve your communication skills in dealing with the clients.
Thank you, Willie. And you know, when I think about my corporate club at Highmark Health, what that club's been doing as far as maintaining and recruiting, when they do an open house, the topics they talk about are relevant to where we are right now. They will do a session about how to present on Zoom, what to do, how to run a meeting, how to ensure you have an agenda. Here's how you ensure you have some timing elements in your meeting. So they try to leverage for the audience tools they can use right away in this online environment, and they will have open houses, will be 100 people in the audience just clamoring for information. So I thank you all for your responses about how you have been recruiting and maintaining your members.